What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for Season 2, Round number 10, the Belgian Grand Prix. We start this one off with a personnel department activity. Fernando ALONSO wants some, I don't know, something going on. So we're going to accept this, which basically gives him a little bit more focus. One of our durability upgrades have come through, so that's good. We're going to put another one on the car. Durability is the thing that we're lowest down on, and I think one of the main reasons why we have seemed to have gone all the way up to the top of the R&D and the other teams haven't is because we've been upgrading our kind of chassis and all that sort of stuff quite a lot, but haven't really been upgrading our durability. So we're like at the top of chassis, aero and powertrain, but our durability is towards the bottom. As you can see, once again, we just about overtake Mercedes to be at the front again, but literally we're backwards and forwards with Mercedes at the top there. But I am going to try and do a lot more durability upgrades in the these next few races to get our durability up there with the other teams, because I think that's one of the main reasons why we have kind of jumped so many teams, because we haven't really been focusing on that so much. There's also the whole thing of at the end of this season we are quite likely to see a regulation change, and we had the durability regulation change last season into this season, so we probably won't have durability changing again. So yeah, I just think that's going to be the way to go. So into Q1, my Q1 lap was pretty decent. The setup that I've gone for this car, which you would have just seen before, it's quite a twitchy setup. It's definitely a dry setup now. Qualifying is going to be completely dry. The race is going to be mostly dry, but there is some rain coming towards the end of the race, but it looks like 75%, 80% of the race is going to be dry. So I'm going for a fully dry setup, and this is quite a twitchy setup. I was actually wondering, do I want to change it a little bit? You know, maybe put a little bit more downforce. Of course, you've got a lot of long straights at Spa on this track, so don't really want to go too high downforce, but with there being a little bit of rain, maybe I should, but I'm gonna stick with it. This is the same setup I ran last season, and to be honest, last season I also it did rain last season as well, so I don't think it was very heavy rain, but we did see rain. So as you can see, first sector I'm pretty much going purple through every time, because I have definitely got a very low downforce setup, which means that it is a little bit twitchy and a little bit scary through some of these corners, and I'm having to be careful. But if I can put the lap together, it's a good lap time. We go P5 in Q2. Fernando ALONSO, surprisingly, is out in Q2. He finishes P11, just doesn't make it through. So yeah, perhaps Alonso is going for a bit more of a higher downforce setup, maybe, because our car is second on R&D, and having a good engine on this track is big, and we have like the best engine, or the second best engine, so surprised to see him out in Q2 when I seem to have pretty good pace here. So through Rouge, it is flat. If you get the line correct, it is flat through Rouge, but it is rather scary. You are slightly offline and you have to lift, or else you will spin round. And all the way down the back, down the first, I don't even know what straight you'd call this, down a straight, there's quite a few on this track. Once again, we were purple through the first sector, because honestly we're probably running one of the lower downforce setups out of everyone here. So when/if the rain does come, we could be in a little bit of a trouble, but the weather says that it's not going to come until the 75-80% point in the race. So I'm going to gamble and stick with this dry setup. As we come through that long corner there, that is one of my trickiest corners on the track. Once again, you run a bit too wide through that corner and you're in big trouble. You just go off, you spin round, it's very difficult. Then that twisty section through there is also quite difficult. This corner here, you've got to get a good run. If you get the line correct, you could go flat through there, as I'm pretty sure I did on this lap. But if you're slightly to the left, you can't go flat, you've got to give it a lift, or else you go over the curbs, and on simulation damage you will get underbody damage, and that is not what you want. And then coming up to the chicane here, very fast section coming up to the chicane. This chicane, very difficult. You have to be patient on the power, especially out of this corner here, and the car will get sideways if you are too eager. But we go through, it is a pretty good lap time. It puts us P3 on the grid. It's actually British United Kingdom 1, 2, 3, which is awesome to see. Lando Norris goes pole, Lewis Hamilton second. We will be starting third on the second row of the grid. This is looking good for the race.
Welcome along then to the Belgian Grand Prix, the race that gave us the maiden victory for the Jordan team in 1998. And in the same team, the phenomenal debut of a young Michael Schumacher. There's always something special around one of the many corners of this fan-favourite circuit. Spa-Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 metres of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, a good top speed will be vital for success. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Why don't we discuss McLaren? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Shaw, Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, and Leclerc, Giovinazzi, Gasly, Sainz, and Fernando Alonso, Vettel, Tsunoda, Christian Lundgaard, and Stroll. Verstappen, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ocon, Kimi Raikkonen, and George Russell. Bottas, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alright, so here we go for the Belgian Grand Prix in Season 2 to 5 red light, and we're underway. It is a very, very good start from us. Not a good start from Hamilton or Norris as we go into first place, into the first corner. We go very late on the brakes, a bit too late on the brakes, trying to get the jump, and Lando Norris manages to get the switchback on us, but we're good from behind with Daniel Ricciardo showing the pace in the McLarens. He is now going to go too wide with Lewis Hamilton up Rouge. Very, very scary stuff to go too wide through there on the first lap especially. And we're just going to tuck up behind Lando Norris here, having a look. We've not got DRS at the moment, but we do have the ERS and the slipstream as we're having a look at Norris, but through this section we're not quite close enough, and then we're a little bit wide with the dirty air just causing our car to not drive that amazing through this section. As we go into the next corner, Daniel Ricciardo is up the inside of us into this long corner. This is one of my weaker corners on the track as well here, but we're still side by side with him. We now have the inside for the next corner, but we're going to stay side by side throughout this whole section. Perez has managed to get past Hamilton just behind us as we go side by side here, but we just squeeze him out of room around this corner and keep the position from Ricciardo. He's now got to worry about Perez and Hamilton behind. Perez also having a great start, Hamilton having a fantastic start from, I don't know where he was on the grid. Perez was next to us, so I think Ricciardo was like P5, I'm pretty sure, and he's up to P3. He was fighting us for P2, and his teammate Norris, you can see there, the lead that Norris has now with me and Ricciardo fighting is almost 2 seconds. He's having a great race here, and the McLarens are showing some very good pace on this track. They have great straight line speed, so now we've got to try and catch up to Norris, but Ricciardo's not going to make it easy for us because he is definitely quick in that car. Norris sets the fastest lap, obviously being the first car to cross the line. On to lap 3, once again we've gone quickest through sector 1. Like I said before, we are so quick through the first sector, but perhaps lose a little bit of time through the second sector, and Daniel Ricciardo is there behind us. We're having to go quite defensive, just make sure he doesn't get past us, and that is losing us time to Norris up ahead, who is now just over 2 seconds up the road on lap number 3. We're really having to be careful from Ricciardo. Very careful around that corner as well, because you can easily run wide and cause yourself some underbody damage. As we are actually quicker than Norris, there's a green flag for some reason. I don't know what was going on there. I think it's a yellow flag further behind us, as once again we're having to go quite defensive, take quite a tight line into this corner because Ricciardo just gets such a better run. We've got a little bit of a strategy change here. Instead of going onto a set of hards, the team thinks we can go on a set of mediums till the end of the race. Messing around with the MFD there though, we haven't got a great run out of that corner, and up here we're just using as much ERS as we can. Ricciardo is right up our bumper, and Perez and Hamilton are right there too. We go a little bit defensive into the chicane here, but we don't have to go too defensive. We're fairly well in front at the moment, but we get a little bit of a kick of oversteer out of that corner, but thankfully it's not going to matter at the moment. The race engineer telling me some stuff on the radio there, as we are now starting to catch up to Norris. We're kind of keeping that gap on Ricciardo now, and just he's not quite close enough to put pressure on us, and we are catching up to Lando Norris. Yeah, it's just, I don't know if he maybe has a little bit of an issue, but he seems to be slowing down with Ricciardo keeping up with us, so maybe Norris has an issue. As we watch Max Verstappen, he's trying to make his way through the grid, started P15 after taking an engine penalty from, I believe he qualified P5, but yeah, P15 after the engine penalty, as he's going for a move on George Russell down the straight here. He's just about alongside, but they are still side by side around here. George Russell is not going to give up this position that easily, although the Red Bull is quite a lot quicker than the Alfa Romeo, and sure enough, Verstappen's going to get that position. That moves him up closer into the point to mitigate that grid penalty that he has taken. We continue on lap number 7 here, and Lando Norris is coming into the pits on this lap for his first change of tyres. We're going to keep going. I believe coming in this early, he's going to be going on to a set of hards, like it was our original strategy. We're going on to a set of mediums, and his teammate Ricciardo is staying out behind us. He has now, however, come in for his stop. Although Ricciardo, as you can see there, top left, he is onto a set of mediums as we go wide, and that's not good. I think we slightly...
underbodies incurred some slight damage, but nothing too serious.
There you go, we slightly grazed the wall there as well, so we've got some underbody damage that cannot be fixed, but I think we slightly grazed the wall. The team hasn't told me, but I reckon we might have a little bit of front wing damage, and sure enough, we come in for the pits for our pit stop, and yes, the team is changing the front wing. That is going to really screw us over now. We were catching right up to the back of Lando Norris. Well, I mean, we were past Lando Norris because he came in for his pit stop, but we were looking pretty good, but that has just cost us. We've been overtaken by Perez, Hamilton, and Ricciardo and Norris as we come out just ahead of Pierre Gasly, who is kind of the lead of the next train behind, but now he's going to have the DRS from us going down this straight here, and he's going to make it all the way around the outside and get the position on us into this next corner. And we have not had a good pit stop here with changing the front wing. We've also now got a little bit of underbody damage. It doesn't really seem to be affecting me too much, and that's not something that you can change. Underbody damage cannot be fixed at all, so we get very close to the back of Gasly, who's rather slow around that corner. But yeah, the underbody doesn't really seem to be affecting me that much. It hasn't really popped up on the kind of, you know, the damage thing on your MFD in the bottom right, so I don't think it's a lot of damage. It shouldn't make a big difference really, so we're just gonna have to go ahead here, but we want to get our way past Gasly. We're quite a bit quicker, although Gasly is very quick in that AlphaTauri. He is on a set of hard tyres, so we should be able to get past him. We're gonna try and brake later into the chicane, but we don't quite do it. He's very, very good on the brakes. I try and take a tighter line out of the chicane to get a good run down the front little straight here, and sure enough we do. We've got the DRS. We're going to go for a dive up the inside of Gasly into turn 1, over the curbs a little bit there, but just about keeping the left tyres on the track as we are now side by side going down to Eau Rouge. This is a scary, scary move as we are side by side through Eau Rouge. We keep it. We just about managed to keep it through there. Gasly keeps it too, but once again, because he was behind us at the detection point, it means that he gets the DRS, and also I think that's Carlos Sainz has the DRS off Gasly, and he's trying to make a move on us as well. Gasly gets past. Sainz is all over the back of us, trying to make on us as well, as he gets a little bit out of shape around that corner. He's got Giovinazzi in the Mercedes behind to worry about too, but we just about hang on to that position from Sainz. But we really want to get past Gasly. Sainz as well actually is on a set of soft tyres. He's obviously trying to go for a 2-stop here. So yeah, he's definitely a quicker car, but we just want to get past Gasly, as once again we're right off the back of him, but he's doing such a great job to put his car in the correct place and out of this corner, make sure not to get any wheel spin, get a good run. And once again we've got DRS down into turn 1. This time we're going to go for the outside move instead of the inside, and we're going to hang it 2x2 around the outside, and we come once again down to Eau Rouge. We go through the detection point, which is around about here or something, and once again Gasly's behind me, so he's going to get the DRS again. We get the move actually done just before we get to Eau Rouge, so we're not quite side by side through Eau Rouge this time, but once again Gasly's got the DRS and he just breezes his way around the outside. That Honda engine is pretty good as well, and we get once again caught up a little bit behind him through that corner, just carrying more speed through the corner with the softer compound of tyres compared to him. This time around, we've really got to get this done, so I figured that me trying to get past him before this chicane was costing me quite a bit. So I hang back a little bit. I'm not going to go for the move on him into the chicane. And obviously at this point, it looks like I'm probably not going to get the move on him into turn 1, but this could be what I need, because if I can be behind him at the detection zone, then I will be the one who has the DRS out of Eau Rouge onto the straight. So sure enough, we are behind him going up Eau Rouge. We hit the detection point around about here somewhere, and we are the car behind. We go around the outside up Eau Rouge, and now we have the DRS. We're past him, and we have got the move done. It was once again side by side through Eau Rouge. This time we were on the outside. It was terrifying, but it was bloody fun, and we finally got the move done on Pierre Gasly, and we can go on up the road. We catch up to Lando Norris, who sure enough, I mentioned it earlier when he seemed to slow down quite a bit, he has got an issue with his car. He's not retiring from the session just yet, but he definitely has an issue, and with ERS and DRS we absolutely fly up to him down the straight and just about managed to get the move done on him. I really wanted to get that done early because I knew he had an issue with his car, and did not want to get stuck behind him for too long. Ricciardo is now leading the Grand Prix, and as you can see, there are a few raindrops starting to appear on the track on my visor, or not really my visor from this view, but on my camera, I guess. And yeah, it's getting wet. The rain is coming. At the moment though, the soft tyres are still okay, but it is getting to a point where we're getting fairly close to the changeover point onto probably intermediate tyres.
It's not a perfect situation, but I don't think we have cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
And there my engineer just about says that for me. We're not quite at the changeover point yet, and I definitely don't think so right now, because I am finding time on Hamilton and Perez up ahead as they're fighting. I am catching them. We are starting to see a little bit less grip now though, as I had to actually lift off through Eau Rouge, and on this lap number 17, as you can see, we're definitely losing grip now. My engineer tells me we're coming in this lap for the intermediate tyres, and I think that's definitely the way to go. We actually seem to be pretty decent on these tyres at the moment. We've actually caught right up to the back of Hamilton and Perez. Ricciardo just up ahead of them in the lead, but we come in to the pit stops for our intermediate tyres. We're going to change. This time there is no front wing change to be had, which is good, so it's a pretty decent stop for us. We come out in the same position as we went in. Hamilton just ahead of us, Perez just ahead of him, and now we've got to get our head down, see what our pace is like in the wet, because this track is quite difficult in the wet, especially Eau Rouge. It's terrifying. Let me tell you that right now. It is absolutely terrifying, so we're going to have to see what we can do. We end up coming up on Yuki Tsunoda here. He has not come into the pit yet. He's on medium tyres still, and he's absolutely all over the place. He's come in way too late here. Don't know if he just didn't want to double stack with his teammate or what was going on there, but Yuki Tsunoda, he is going so slow on the medium tyres, but he will be coming in this lap, but he's going to be way down the back of the grid. As we carry on here, as you can see with the times up in the top left, we do not have the pace in the wet. Now I think that's one, because it's just really difficult to drive in the wet on this track, but also, like I said before, my setup is a very twitchy, or fairly twitchy dry setup, so in the wet we're not seeing the best pace. Someone who is trying to get his way through the field though is George Russell in the Alfa Romeo. Lando Norris has fallen way back here. He's still having that issue with his engine, and Russell and one of the Ferraris, I think it's Carlos Sainz, trying to get past it. There's also an Alpha Tauri back there who I presume is going to be Tsunoda, as Gasly is a fair way up the grid. Russell didn't get Norris into the chicane, but he's going to try and see if he can do anything going up into Eau Rouge, but he has Carlos Sainz behind him, and although Norris has got an engine problem, that McLaren is still very, very quick. It's one of the quickest cars on the grid, and Alfa Romeo, not one of the quickest cars on the grid. So it looks like at this current point in time, Russell's not quite going to be able to do anything for this lap, and there's only one more lap to go after this. As we continue on here, as you can see, we are losing quite a lot of time to Hamilton and Perez up ahead, and we're actually being caught by Gasly behind, and we're about to start our final lap of the race. At this point, we just need to keep this position. This is going to be a P4 finish, not as good as where we qualified. If we didn't have that issue with our underbody and our front wing change, we honestly could have been going on for a win in this race. Unfortunately though, that didn't happen, and the rain really has not helped with that either. So it's going to be a P4 at best for us. The best battle on track that I could see though was for P2. Daniel Ricciardo was a fair way up the road in P1 at this point in time. He's pretty much got this race covered, but it's a battle between Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton for who can take second place. Perez is currently the lead car here, but Hamilton is showing that he's got good pace in the wet, and he is hunting down Perez on this final lap of the Grand Prix. They come around to this final straight here before they get to the final corner and the end of the race, and Hamilton is really trying to find some pace here, but it's so difficult in the wet to make any moves, and it looks like it's just going to be a little bit too far back, which means that Perez is going to take second. Hamilton is going to be in third place. Daniel Ricciardo does take the win, but I think he runs out of fuel right at the end of the race here. As you can see, he just completely slows down. I don't know if it's an engine issue or if he just runs out of fuel, but he literally rolls himself over the line. If that was fuel, he's very, very lucky, honestly, as you see Perez and Hamilton go flying past. But he does take his first win in this career mode, his first win for McLaren in this series of ours, because the Italian Grand Prix has not happened in this my team career mode of ours. We come home to just about claim P4. Like I said, it was looking like a possible win for us, but the rain probably would have hampered us even without that front wing change, and it would have been a good battle, I think, at the end for us. But ultimately, we didn't have the pace in the rain. We made a little bit of a mistake earlier on, and we come home in a pretty decent P4.
Another race and another win for McLaren. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
So Daniel Ricciardo wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Sergio Perez in second. He loves that second place, Perez. And then Lewis Hamilton ends up in third place, dropping a grid spot down from where he qualified. So Daniel Ricciardo gets his first win of the season. It's his first win of the whole career mode, and his first win for McLaren in this universe of ours. So pretty good stuff for him, although Lando Norris was looking like he was going to have the win, but unfortunately had some problems. He actually did retire towards the end of the race, 2 laps down at the end there. He did end up having a DNF. And Alonso finished in 9th, so he made up 1 position, but that was pretty much just from Norris. So yeah, Alonso not doing as well as I was hoping here. We come home in P4. Ricciardo's now 3rd in the championship, moves ahead of Max Verstappen, leaves his teammate kind of for dead in the background, but it is very close between that kind of top group. We are now in P8 in the championship, Alonso still in P12, and then in the Constructors' Championship nothing changes. However, we are now level on 97 points with AlphaTauri. We are behind, I don't know, because of finishes or whatever, but we are level on points with AlphaTauri now, so it's getting very, very close at this midway season point. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.